Is my screen visible to everybody?
No.
Hello? No? 1 minute. Why is the screen not visible? This is the usual problem. Share screen. And tab. Now is it visible? Is it visible now? Hello, is my screen visible now?
Yes, now it is.
All right, great. So this talk continues with the Vedanta series. And today I'm going to talk about consciousness and God. Now, these are very universal ideas. Just a word on consciousness, the kind of thinking and advance our Shastras have done on consciousness is completely unmatched. Today, science is struggling with consciousness. So if you look at science, because science studies everything as an object.
May I be allowed to interrupt you for just 20 seconds?
बोलो.
ये आपने बोला है कि काम हमारे हिंदुस्तान ने बहुत किया है, लेकिन मेरी एक हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट है आपसे कि सबसे पहले ना आप ये वर्ड कॉन्शियसनेस ये हमें बता दीजिए.
So the whole presentation is on that. आप थोड़ा सा सब कीजिए. With this, the topic of the discussion today is consciousness and God.
Okay.
So I'm just laying the background about science, and then we'll move into Vedanta.
Okay.
So as far as science is concerned, so they have figured out what it is to be conscious of something. So say I have a pain in my knee and my mind is conscious of that pain in the knee. But what consciousness itself is, science is totally struggling with it. And there is a person called Dr. Chalmers, I think he's from Australia. He has termed it as the hard problem of science. What it is to be conscious of something is a very easy problem. But what it is, what consciousness itself is the hard problem, which science has completely struggled with. So the other thing is that, you know, when the Western scientists, or not only Western, all scientists, when they talk of consciousness, they kind of equate consciousness with wakefulness. So, you know, you have terminologies, he's conscious, he's unconscious, you know, that kind of thing. Even neurologists, when they research this area, there's a bit of a equation of consciousness with wakefulness. But the short conclusion is that science struggles with what is consciousness, while you know, our Vedantists and even other disciplines like Buddhism and all have gone very far in terms of what is consciousness. In fact, for them, consciousness is the ultimate reality. The second thing is about God. God itself is a very, very vast subject. So we won't go into the great details of God. But by and large, we conceive of God as something external to us, some person who sits somewhere else in some cloud, and he is either benevolent, you know, he gives us a lot of sympathy, and or he is judgmental and, you know, he will punish us for our bad deeds, etc. So it is, a God is, what the technical term for that is extra cosmic. That means God is outside of the cosmos. So this is the general idea. Keep this in mind, and we will notice how Vedanta looks at both consciousness and God. So what is Vedanta? Vedanta is an inquiry into reality. One second. Is an inquiry into reality. So unlike, say, Abrahamic uh, faiths like Christianity and Islam and Judaism, where they said they have this belief that there is an extra cosmic God. How do we know it? Because he sent a prophet. How do you know that there's God? Because the prophet said so. And the God has given some commandment, which is laid down in a book like a dogma. But if those dogmas are religions, then anything in India, Vedanta is not a religion. If that's a religion, this is not a religion. And so it's an inquiry into what is reality. And unlike the scientists who study reality as an object out there, as a stone or a tree or a grass or a human being or an animal or anything else out there, the Indian philosophers have no problem, using yogic intuition as a valid source of knowledge. So this is very important. All right. So they ask, what is real? And through this inquiry, they come to the conclusion that whatever has a beginning and end is not real. So they say that if something can be fitted into something else, then that something else is more real than something that fits into it. So this everything in this world, this whole jagat, and all jivas, all of us, all human beings, we are born, we die, we have a cause, we have a beginning, we have an end, right? But this arising and going away is coming from something and going into something. What that is a reality, is because from that reality, everything is emerging and everything is merging. So it holds that anything which has a beginning and end is not real. It's Maya, it's an appearance, right? And they come to this conclusion by observing consciousness, and they discern the three states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And they find, now again coming to the Western science, in deep sleep they say you're unconscious, but that's not true, because in deep sleep also the mental waves are there. But in deep sleep, what has happened is that your mind has folded up. It doesn't exist. The mind is not there. Yet, when you wake up, you say, I had a good sleep. So where is that consciousness of good sleep coming from, is the question they ask. And then they say that even in deep sleep, that consciousness exists. So that same consciousness goes through the waking state, the dream state, the deep sleep state. And when you go into the meditative state, that same consciousness appears to you as pure consciousness, the transcendental state, Turiya. But we'll go into more detail of this as we go along. So, and that consciousness is pure, it's transcendental, it is apprehensible only through meditation, and that consciousness is the underlying reality. So, unlike the scientists who are struggling with what is consciousness, the Vedanta says the underlying reality of the whole universe is consciousness, right? And the world as we see it, the physical world as we see it, is an appearance. It's a superimposition on that reality of consciousness, right? If you remember in the earlier talk, I talked about a rope, and in the dark you see a rope and think it's a snake. So the snake is a superimposition on the rope. The reality is the rope, and the snake is a superimposition. Similarly, consciousness is the reality and the world is superimposed on it. And once we realize that reality, the superimposition disappears for us, for the person who realizes that reality, not for everybody else. For everybody else, they are still in that the reality that the world is real. But for a person who realizes consciousness, then the world disappears. Okay. So moving forward, this was the background. I've done a summary of what I've done earlier. But moving forward, we are going to talk in the next 2 or 3 sessions these 5 main ideas of Vedanta. So what is Brahman? Brahman is that underlying reality, that consciousness. What is Ishawara? Ishawara is the governing God, and we'll talk about these two. We'll talk about today. What is Maya? Maya is the appearance of the world. It's a snake appearing instead of a rope. Rope appearing as a snake is Maya. What is Avidya? Avidya is the cause of Maya. If the reality of the rope is hidden from you, and therefore through Avidya you project the world, because the reality is hidden from you, and that projection is Maya. Because if you don't recognize the reality of Brahman, the world appears, right? Avidya. And Atman is Brahman individualized. So Brahman is the substratum, it is the universal consciousness, and the little bit of Brahman which each one of us has is Atman. Atman and Brahman in Vedanta are one and the same. So it's like air which is there in the atmosphere and air which is trapped in a pot. The same air is trapped in the pot, but you know that air trapped in the pot is Atman, while the air in the atmosphere is Brahman. So please.
Could you please repeat the definition of Atman and Brahman? That's it.
So Brahman is the underlying reality.
Okay.
It is the consciousness. It is the only consciousness available in the universe.
Okay.
Everything else other than Brahman is matter, which is jada, which is material. It doesn't have any intelligence, any consciousness. So our body, our mind are all jada. It doesn't have any consciousness. So the only consciousness which is available in the world is Brahman.
So what is Brahman?
Brahman is consciousness. The only consciousness available in the entire universe is Brahman. And Brahman is a substratum on which the world appears. So Brahman is a sole reality. Everything else is Maya. It's an appearance. The reality is Brahman, right? And the world appears on the Brahman. So as an example, you see a rope, there's a rope lying on the road in the dark, and you think it's a snake. So the reality is a rope, but it appears as a snake. The snake is superimposed on the rope. So in this example, if you extend this, the reality is Brahman, and the world appears on Brahman, just like a snake appears on the rope.
Once again, what other word could we use to understand Brahman better? If you say Brahman is the reality, so what is that reality?
The reality is that we'll discuss that as we go along.
Okay,
we'll discuss that. But for the time being, you understand that there are two things. There is intelligence and there is matter. There's matter and mind. What they it's called matter and mind.
Okay.
So matter is dead. It is just elements. It has got no intelligence, right? So where's the intelligence coming from? So that intelligence principle in the universe is Brahman. Number one. So remember this: the intelligence principle in the universe is Brahman, right?
Okay.
Number one. And number two, to understand that matter comes and goes. Matter is caused. So your human body is caused, right? It was born, and at some point in time it will die. It will go back and mix with the elements in the earth, right? So matter will come and go, but Brahman is beginningless, it's timeless, it's beyond time and space. We will discuss this in more detail. So that what Vedanta says, that the reality of the universe is not the world which you see, because the world which you see appears to you as a reality, but it's not really real. The real thing is Brahman, which underlies that, right? So the reality, so how do we know it? So when you see a pen, it's an object. How do you know that it's a pen? Who's the knower? So there's some intelligence within you who's knowing that it's a pen. So that intelligence within you is Brahman. And that Brahman is intelligence within you, that Brahman is the what which survives your body, mind, and goes on and on and on. I mean, it is timeless, it is without beginning, without end, is the only reality on which the mind appears, the body appears and goes. Okay. And now Brahman is the reality. Now the Brahman associated with each human body is called Atman. In essence, it's the same. It's the same. Brahman and Atman are one. So it is, the example I gave was, there's a air in the atmosphere and there's air in this room. So the air in the room is contained by the four walls. So therefore, the consciousness in a human being is contained by the contours of the body. So that is Atman. But Atman and Brahman are not two. They are the same. And the whole purpose, the moksha, is to realize that your Atman is Brahman. Aham Brahma Asmi. Okay. So today we will cover Brahman and Ishawara, God. And going forward, we will cover Maya, Avidya, Atman, and some other aspects of Vedanta in future talks. So what is Brahman? So Brahman is formless. Brahman cannot be visualized. Brahman cannot be imagined. So therefore, as a picture, the closest I can get is this picture. If anybody knows the movie Matrix, so it is. I've used that background to denote Brahman, but Brahman cannot be denoted. All right. So ordinary, why is that? See, ordinary thinking, the way we think, we can know an object which is in time and space, which has a location. So this pen has a location. It is in my hand. It's on the table. It's on my laptop, right? So it is located in time and space. I can see it on my table today, whatever the date is, time is. So I can see it at that point in time. So it is in space and time. But the reality is what holds space and time. And only what is there in space and time can you know by thinking and words. Because words and thinking are shaped around duality of the multiple objects which are there. You, me, man, woman, pen, speech, So the entire language is in the domain of duality, in the domain of multiple objects and relationships. Mother, we are all part of XENA, we are a group. So relationships and duality shape language. But the substratum by definition is outside of space and time. If it's outside of space and time, then words cannot reach it. Thought cannot reach it. And this is where the scientists are stuck, because words, thought, observation, their methods, all their instruments are there to measure something which exists in time and space. And and Brahman is outside of time and space. So only by meditative insight can Brahman be known. So those who, the rishis, or those who achieve enlightenment, those who become nirvana or achieve moksha, they know Brahman. And when they know Brahman, it's self-evident to them. They don't need to give any reason or explain. They just know it because they have experienced Brahman within themselves. However, it needs to be explained. So like you asking, explain Brahman to me, define Brahman to me. So that is normal human mind asking those questions. So it needs to be explained by reason. So what are the reasons Vedanta uses to explain Brahman? So I'll go into the reasons for that. The first is that from intuiting Brahman from the states of consciousness. So I mentioned this in the first slide, but I'll go through it in some detail over here. So our rishis, they said that there are 4 states of consciousness. So there's a waking state, Vaishvanara. There's a dream state, Taijasa. There's a deep sleep state, Prajna. And there's a transcendental state, Turiya. So we'll go into all these states. So waking state is like right now. So we are awake. When you're awake, you see all the objects around you. You're looking at your computer screen. There's a window, there's a light. You can hear a fan whirling somewhere. So it's a waking state. Where in the waking state, your mind is operational. Your senses are operational. Your sight, your touch, your hearing, smell, all the senses are operational. And your senses are picking up data from all around and sending it to your mind, and the mind is getting processing that data and saying, okay, this is a pen, this is a calculator, this is a computer. So the thing is, in the waking state, the mind and senses are both there, and you are observing all the world around you. So that is one state of consciousness, right? Now, one more idea which I have to give you, which I referred to, that all this, your eyes, your mind, these are all material things. They have no intelligence, they have no sentience, they have no life. So what is it that is making you aware of this pen? Obviously, your sight is picking up the pen and sending its image to the mind, and is reflecting in the mind. The pen is reflecting in the mind. But then how does the mind know? How do you know that it's a pen? It's because the light of Atman, because Atman is the only one which has light. Mind and all are just matter. So it's the light of Atman which shines on the mind, and the reflection of the pen becomes visible, and that's how your mind plus Atman becomes aware that this is a pen. All right. So in the waking state, this process of the Atman throwing light on the mind, this process is mediated by the senses, right? Then there's another state of consciousness in the dream state. In the dream state, what happens is that your senses fold up. So you are no longer seeing, you're no longer hearing, you're no longer smelling. Your senses have gone to sleep, but your mind is still functioning. And one part of the mind is observing data stored in another part of the mind. And what is that data? That data is what you have experienced in your waking state. But why does it appear differently in the dream state? Because senses are not there. So the mind will distort that data. So things will appear surreal in your dream. But still, consciousness is there. The one part of the mind is watching another part of the mind, and consciousness lighting up what that part of the mind is watching. So consciousness exists in the dream state also, and as in the waking state. And we cannot say that the dream state is less real than the waking state. So in the dream state, everything is real. I mean, if you feel threatened in the dream state, you will wake up in cold sweat. If you're feeling thirsty in the dream state, you will drink a dream water, glass of dream water to quench your thirst. So there's no scientific reason, there's no logical reason to say that the dream state is any less real than the waking state. They're both as real. But for our purpose, to come to Brahman, what we are saying is that consciousness exists in the waking state, consciousness exists in the dream state. So whatever the mind activity it is doing, consciousness is lighting it up. Now we come to a very interesting state called the deep sleep state. In the deep sleep state, what happens is even the mind falls up. So the mind also is not there. Mind is not there, its objects are not there, memory is not there, nothing is there. So there is, but when you wake up, you have a sense that I slept very well. So where is that coming from? So this is the genius of our rishis. So they say that consciousness which was lighting up your experience in the waking state, lighting up your experience in the dream state, that consciousness is still alive and still awake. And there is awareness of nothing. There's nothing, there are no objects. The mind is folded up, senses are folded up, but there is awareness of nothing. So that awareness exists. And from this insight, they say that awareness is that consciousness, which is Atman. And in meditation, you can go to the Turiya, the fourth state. In the Turiya state, the mind is completely gone. It's still, there's no more mind. No more mind. So it is basically deep state, but while you're awake. So there's no more mind, and your consciousness is apprehending itself, its own light by itself. And then you know that is the substratum, that is the reality. All your mind, body, etc. are just instruments which will come and go. But that reality of consciousness will remain. It remains unaffected, still, inactive. It always was, always will be. So this is how Brahman is intuited from the four states of consciousness. Another reason is, let's do a thought experiment. The thought experiment is that a car is moving. So how do you know that the car is moving fast? Because it overtakes a bicycle. So to figure out movement, you have to compare it with a movement of something else which is moving at a lower speed. So how do you know the bicycle is moving? Because it is moving faster than a man walking. So again, if you keep thinking this way, you have to come to a place where it is not moving. So you have to come to a place where there's no movement. And so therefore, logically, that place where there's no movement is a substratum. In this case, like it's a road, is a substratum, which is not moving. And everything else which is moving is relative to that permanent which is not moving. Another way to look at it is this example of, there's a necklace, there's a bracelet, there's an earring, and there's a ring, finger ring. And are they real? They are. The reality is the bar of gold. Gold is manipulated to make a necklace. Make a bracelet, make a earring, make a ring. So are ornaments real or the gold real? Ornaments are just name and form, nama rupa. I mean, this you can melt it and it becomes gold. So in this particular example, gold is the underlying reality. So similarly, Brahman is the underlying reality, and the names and forms appear. Atul Sinha, Rajiv Anand, they all appear, but they're not real because when we have the capacity to merge into Brahman. So this is another way of explaining that Brahman is the underlying reality. And finally, Brahman is inexpressible. It cannot be expressed in words. Why? Because it is not a point in space-time. It doesn't exist in space and time, but it pulsates in everything. So it is nowhere and it is everywhere. So, and this paradoxes, you have to be able to take these paradoxes to understand Brahman. And the paradox exists because our whole mind is used to things in time and space, while Brahman is not in time and space. It is nowhere. You can't find it as a point in time and space. Yet it is everywhere. It underlies everything. So it is nowhere and everywhere.
Could we say Brahman, in other words, is the universal matrix?
What I don't know what to say to that. It's a word which you are using. It is yeah, you can say that. But don't think of Brahman as an object. Brahman is
see, matrix for me is very abstract.
Abstract.
Like
correct.
I say, give me the where are the opportunities? Where are the possibilities? Now, possibilities and opportunities are not tangent. They are intangible.
Okay.
They are abstract. It is a situation.
Very simply, and I'll come to this. Very simply, Brahman
because Atulji, I'm trying to grasp this thing, in my way in which I can eventually understand it.
So what I'm trying to tell you is very simply, do not think of Brahman as you think of another object.
But possibilities are not an object. They are a condition.
No, it's okay. Condition and all is fine. Brahman is got nothing. Brahman is not a condition. It's not an object. It's not a quality. It's not an attribute. It is nothing. It is neti. Whatever you see in this world is not Brahman.
Is not Brahman.
Yeah. It is Brahman and it is not Brahman. Whatever you see in this world as it appears is not Brahman, but what underlies everything that appears is Brahman.
Right.
Okay. You are seeing the snake, but the reality is the rope.
Yes, I understood that.
Correct.
I understood that part.
So it is not in time and space. Whatever appears in time and space is the snake. What appears in time and space is Nama Rupa. What appears in time and space are things which are relative. What appears in time and space are things which are born and they die. What appears in time and space are things which are caused. But Brahman is none of this.
Okay.
Okay. Just see this last line from Shiva Samhita. It says, as the space pervading the five elements does not mix with them, space mane akash.
Yeah, I've understood.
So the spirit does not mix with the ever-changing universe. Spirit is the underlying intelligence, reality, consciousness. It does not mix with it. It remains pure.
Okay.
It remains pure. Okay. And when we come to moksha and all, you will understand this even better. Okay.
Okay.
And Brahman is not related to anything. It stands by itself. It doesn't need to be. There's no relationship. Brahman is not caused by something. Brahman is not drawing light from something. Brahman is not causing anything. Brahman just exists. It simply is. Okay. So and I know it's difficult. We all face this difficulty when we first are exposed to Brahman, we try to think of it as some other object, and we cannot, because it is neti neti. Nothing which you can think of is Brahman.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that is why the Buddhists, the Mahayana Buddhists, they never verbalize Brahman. They never talked about Brahman. They said, yes, beyond this life, they say this world and life is shunya. That means is empty. There is something beyond. What that is, we cannot say. And the reason was that what cannot be said should not be said. So Buddha himself kept quiet when he was asked, beyond this world, what is there? Quiet. Is there Atman? Quiet. He says, you are in samsara, you are in this, caught in suffering. I will tell you how to get out of suffering. Where do you go after you get out of suffering is not your concern. Okay. So, but the problem is with the expression. So with the Mahayana Buddhist expression of silence, there is something, but we can't talk about it, gives the impression that there is nothing. While Vedanta expresses it more positively, but then gives the impression that it is another object, which again is not true. So understand that there's a problem and just accept that there is a problem in expressing Brahman. Okay. Now, you must have heard the term Sat Chit Ananda. All right. So this is how Vedanta describes Brahman. But Sat Chit Ananda, which I'll explain, these are not qualities of Brahman. These are not attributes of Brahman. It is Brahman. It is the very beingness of Brahman. It's like heat actually is a quality of fire, but it's very difficult to explain. It's not a quality, it's not an attribute. It is what it is. It is the essence. That is Brahman. So, because we cannot describe what is Brahman, it gives the impression that Brahman is nothing, which is what the problem the Mahayana Buddhists have. Mahayana Buddhists are very logical. They are saying, hai kuch hai beyond this world. What that is cannot be expressed. So they are very correct. Because as we saw, it cannot be expressed in words. So if it cannot be expressed, gives the impression to the mind caught in duality that there is nothing. What is called in philosophy nihilism, right? So nihilism is a very negative thinking, thought, all right? So, but Vedanta gives it a more positive description, Satchit Ananda. So, but as I said, it is possible that Vedanta's description can make you feel that Brahman is another object, like other objects, which it is not. So, what is Sat? Sat signifies existence, pure existence. It is unlocated in space and time. Asat is everything which you see around you is asat. They are material objects made up of elements. They are impermanent. They are born. They die. They're empty. They're just naam roop. So they're like the necklace is not the ultimate reality. The bar of gold is the reality. So all of us are empty. We have nothing. We have no reality. We are born. We will die. We are impermanent. We are just name and form. Our reality is something which is underlying. That underlying reality is pure existence. Brahman just exists. It exists in itself because there's nothing else. So that is why it is pure existence, Sat. And it knows that it exists. So it is chit, it is pure consciousness. We saw that we become conscious of objects because the reflection of the object in the mind is lit by the light of Atman, Atman which is Brahman, lit by the light of Brahman. So who lights up Brahman? There's nothing else to light up Brahman. So it is Swa Prakasha. That means it is its own light. And it is that light, that light is the consciousness, pure consciousness. And it is what lights up all the objects in the mind, so we know them. It illumines the mind, it enables all the functions. Our thinking, seeing, hearing, feeling, speaking, everything is lit by the light of Brahman. Every experience we have, I'm moving my hands, every experience we have is proof of Brahman, is a proof of Chit, proof of pure consciousness. Because that's the only consciousness, that's the only thing which is self-luminous. Because there's nothing else. If there was something else, that would be the reality, no? Nothing else. This is the ultimate reality. So the ultimate reality exists by itself, beginningless, endless, and that reality is its own light, its own consciousness, its own intelligence, beginningless and endless. And it is that light from which we draw and become aware of all the objects around us. And because it has got no disturbance, there's no mind in Brahman, there's no disturbance. The mind is not disturbed. The mind is not like going here, there, having desires, etc., etc. There's pure bliss, absolute bliss. So it is only in life when the mind is constantly disturbed. I want this, I desire this, so and so has made me unhappy, I'm feeling sad. All these thoughts lead to dukkha, and these thoughts are not there. So it is pure bliss, ananda. So when somebody transcends and becomes merged with Brahman, there's only stillness and therefore ananda. And as I said, Satchit, Ananda are not qualities or attributes, but beingness of Brahman. If you have any questions on this, I'll answer it now. Okay. So we now move on to a couple of slides on Ishawara. So as we said, the
1 minute, I was asking you my question.
Oh, please ask, please ask.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
Yeah.
My questions are here.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that even Buddha did not care to know what is beyond a
No.
certain
No. I didn't say that. Buddha knew what is there.
Acha, Buddha knew.
Buddha was an enlightened person.
Yeah.
He
Acha,
knows.
okay, I understood it wrong. But
no.
he did not care to answer what is beyond this.
Yeah. He said, when he was asked, beyond the world and beyond our life and death, what is there? Is there something over there? So he kept quiet.
He kept quiet.
Why did he keep quiet? Why did he keep quiet? So we don't know. He kept quiet. What he said is, it is not your concern. He told people that it is not your concern. इससे आपको कोई फायदा नहीं होगा. You just realize that you are caught in this web of dukkha. This whole life is dukkha because it's impermanent.
Right.
And I am going to give you things which will get you out of this dukkha.
Okay.
Where it takes you, you will know when you go there. Don't ask me just now.
Okay.
Because whatever I tell you, it will condition you.
Okay.
Because your mind cannot take it. What there is beyond words, beyond thought, and it cannot be expressed. So don't ask me to express it. Just please follow my eightfold path and get out of dukkha. Was what he said. Now the later Buddhists, there were basically two streams. One is Theravada Buddhism, which is there in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and all that.
Yeah.
So they said what Buddha meant was that whatever all there is this world, and and this world of relativity, which is dukha, which is impermanent, and beyond that there is nothing. So what happens in nirvana? So their theory was in nirvana, like how a candle extinguishes in vacuum, you extinguish in vacuum. So it was their theory, which is incorrect. There is a lot of arguments against it. And the Mahayana, which is a Tibetan, which is what is today we call Tibetan Buddhism and all that. But so that Buddhism said, when Buddha said life is shunya, he meant worldly life, not the transcendental life. Transcendental life, there is something. What that something is cannot be expressed. So this is what Buddha said.
Okay. So based on this, my question is that even if a Mahagyani, like Buddha said, it is not your concern, then why should I bother to know or to understand what is Brahman?
Yeah. So therefore, that's what I said. Now it's a very tricky question, because the way the Madhyamika explains it, you get the impression that there is nothing beyond this life, nothing beyond this impermanence.
Okay.
There's nihilism, and nihilism by itself is a very what should I say, depressing thought.
Yeah.
कि कुछ नहीं है, when the whole thing is empty, which is not true.
Nothingness.
Nothingness is there. Okay. So Vedanta gave it a more positive description, which is not untrue. So this positive description not to dil pehlane ke liye nahi diya hai. So Sat Chit Ananda is very well explained, very logically explained, right?
Yeah.
आपका दिल बहलाने के लिए नहीं दिया है, ठीक है? So,
right.
But they have given this positive. They felt that you need to give people a positive thing. The risk they are running, Vedanta is running, is to make people feel that Brahman is another object, like they are, and you are, and everything else.
Yeah.
So this is a problem of philosophy. There's nothing you can do about it. We just accept the problem. But Vedanta and Buddhism said the same thing differently.
No,
one said there is something, I can't talk about it. One said there is something, and that something is Satya Tananda.
See, my question, or rather my what should I say? My confusion is ki with all this, as it is trying to know what is reality, trying to know what is trying to understand life, that this is Maya, trying to understand that I should not get attached, and so many things, trying to understand how to get out of pain and whatever. As it is a big job to do. Why the hell should I get into this chakkar of trying to know what is Brahman?
Because what the rishis are telling you, that you are not your mind and body, you are Brahman. So if I tell you, if the Vedanta says that if I tell you nothing of what Brahman is, then what do you aspire for?
Exactly. Why? So I will. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied by knowing, okay, I'm not mind, I'm not body.
Then what are you?
No, I don't care. Okay, I'm not mind, I'm not body. Okay.
Then you follow Buddhism. So I mean, with your kind of mind, you can follow Buddhism. You can follow.
ठीक है, I'm not mind, I'm not body, and therefore I should not get attached to anything, right? And there is another route of thinking also, which I've started practicing that, and that is that I am nothing. Whatever I do, I don't do. I am a channel, is being done by that cosmic consciousness. And I'm just a medium.
Instrument.
I'm just a channel. I'm just a channel. And I'm very peaceful with that.
No problem.
I'm very peaceful. Now, beyond that, I don't care. What is Brahman? Chodo yaar, itne kante mein kyun padna? Why the hell should I go? It is like Eric von Daniken. I'm sure you must have read some of his books.
Yes.
Eric von Daniken. the first book of his, which
Chariots
was
of
Chariots
Fire.
of Gods, yeah,
Hmm.
in which he says,
Hmm.
okay, some say that the universe is resting on the horn of the cow.
Hmm.
Where is this cow standing then?
Hmm.
Some say the universe is resting on the back of a turtle.
Hmm.
So where is this turtle standing?
Hmm.
He is standing on another turtle and another turtle and another turtle. But where is the final turtle standing?
Hmm.
Okay. Some say the universe is lying on the shoulder of the Atlas.
Hmm.
So where is this damn Atlas sitting?
Hmm.
So why should so don't go itna piche mat jane ki koshish karo that you get lost. Even the Buddha has said the same thing.
Yeah.
Ki going far behind,
Hmm.
you will get lost.
Correct.
So don't go as far behind that you get lost in that and confused in
Correct.
that, and then you don't go forward.
Okay, so let me just tell you something. I've understood. I've understood where you're coming from.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, where you are is a very good place. There's no problem with that. So
right.
Just hear me out. Please hear me out. There's no problem with that. That you think that you're an instrument through which higher forces are acting, right?
Right.
And you flow with that and don't worry about anything else. It's a perfect place to be in. All right.
Right.
So, I am right now talking about Vedanta. There are many other philosophies like Buddhism, Jainism. There are other philosophies which have different views. All right. So the one trap we should avoid, and I avoid it because I've read all the 12 philosophies I've read. All right, I've understood. So the trap is we get caught in our own philosophy. So what you're saying is not wrong, but that's not the only way of looking at things. All right.
Yeah.
So 1 second. So it is good for you. It's working for you. Fantastic. But then you don't say that we shouldn't aspire to know what is there, what is not. I might aspire to know, and I'm fine with that.
Right.
Are you getting what I'm saying? So it is.
Yes. I'm getting what you're saying.
So this whole philosophy has a tendency to become dogmatic. I am a Vedantist.
Yes.
I am a Mimamsik. I am a Buddhist. I am this. I am that. Everybody is going to the same place, but they're going slightly different routes. कोई गली से जा रहा है, कोई रोड से जा रहा है, कोई हाईवे से जा रहा है, कोई हवाई जहाज से जा रहा है, लेकिन सब जगह सब वही जा रहे हैं. ठीक है?
Yeah.
So don't get dogmatic about it. What you said works for you, and I'm very happy for you. Very good, right?
Yeah.
And follow that. Don't worry. Don't let it take you wherever it takes you.
That is one. And very rightly, like you said, that everybody follows their own. The thing is about not getting dogmatic. That is very good, which you have pointed out.
Correct.
And one more thing which I will point out is that after all, the purpose is the same of all the philosophies.
Exactly.
Hai na?
Exactly. Other than, of course, other than the Abrahamic religion. So keep that out.
Yeah.
So keep Christianity, Islam, all that out of it.
Yeah.
But other than that, so be very careful. All the other Jainism, Buddhism, all the philosophies of so-called Hinduism is all the same.
So Eastern, let's put them Eastern philosophies. Correct. So the purpose is the same, and the purpose is it's not moksha. According to me, maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm not dogmatic about that thought, because if somebody else can give me something else which sounds more logical to me, more acceptable to me, I will accept it. For me, the purpose is to lead life in a better manner.
For what?
Finally.
Purpose? For what purpose? For
the
itself.
Purpose of all the philosophy, understanding.
No, to lead life in a better manner.
Right.
And by as an end in itself, or for it to give flower into something. What is the flower into?
So, एक बोलता है कि तुम कर्म ऐसे करो कि बाद में स्वर्ग जाओगे. ओके. मैंने स्वर्ग देखा नहीं, ना मैंने प्रूफ देखा है, ना मैंने गारंटी देखी है. जो बोलता है, मैं बोलती हूँ इस दुनिया में मेरा जीवन जितने टाइम में मैंने रहना है, वो मैं कैसे सुधार सकूं. I live well and I am able to contribute something to the other.
So
बात खत्म.
एक बात सुनिए.
हाँ,
What we are trying to do is we are trying to discuss philosophy.
हाँ,
When we discuss philosophy, we
हाँ,
have to get out of our own personal orientation. So this is your
Okay.
personal orientation. You are saying that
right,
I don't care Brahman hai ki nahi, and I will just do better my life every moment, which is very good.
हाँ,
You will achieve great peace by following what you are following. So
right,
there's no issue with that. No issue with that. But
right,
the purpose, the stated purpose of all Eastern philosophy is moksha.
is moksha,
Is
right,
moksha, mukti, nirvan, whatever you call it, jivan mukta, whatever you term they use, but they say they agree that the purpose is to attain moksha. And
right,
this is how you can attain moksha. Jainism has
right,
one view, Buddhism has
right,
one view, Vedanta has one view, Mimamsa has one view,
right,
Samkhya
right.
yoga has one view, all that stuff. But
I believe,
all of them say moksha is the purpose. Now, what
right,
you believe and I believe doesn't matter. Now, Rajiv
Mm,
Anand might say कि
हाँ,
हम तो चारवाक हैं यार, हम तो खाएंगे पिएंगे मौज करेंगे.
ठीक है.
You can't say that it is wrong. It is
No, no, he is not wrong.
तो
मैं ये
उसका भी
बोलती
फिलॉसफी है,
हूँ,
वो चारवाक है.
नहीं नहीं,
चारवाक is
मैं
also
ये,
philosophy.
भाईजान, भाईजान, I say that moksha is by default. I achieve moksha when I live well. Automatically, in the end, I will
Perfect.
get moksha.
So you are following a particular path which is more like the bhakti path or that kind of path,
तो
which is
वो
fine.
मोक्ष मिल जाएगा, मोक्ष
हाँ,
वो तो
बिल्कुल
by
मिलेगा.
default आ ही जाएगा.
नहीं मिल
Right.
जाएगा. हाँ.
It is like I have sat down in the train. The train was marked for church gate.
हाँ.
मैंने टिकट लिया, उसमें बैठ गई. By default, I will reach church gate because the train church gate.
So
Right?
you're right.
हाँ.
You're right. And the path which you have chosen is what you have chosen. But understand that my mind is different from yours. So
Right.
I have to do yoga. I have to sit and do tantra. I have to do meditation
Right.
to achieve, to get to church gate only.
Right.
But you have chosen another marga, which is better yourself, surrender
Yeah.
to higher forces.
Right.
That's a
Right,
marga
right.
which is described bhakti marga. You've chosen bhakti marga. I have
Okay.
chosen Gyan marga, Raj Yoga marga. They're different
Right.
marga because so there are different margas in Eastern. The beauty of Eastern religion is it's not dogmatic. It's not one size fits
Yeah,
all.
I accept that.
It is you are the type who will go for bhakti. Great. So here's the marga for you.
Okay. Okay.
You are the type who are a doer. Great. Karma is the marga for you. Karma yoga.
Right.
You are the type who wants to get involved in knowledge. Great. Here, read this book. Read Vedanta. That's the marga.
Right.
You are the type who wants to work with your chakras and body and tantra and all that. Well, great. Raj yoga is
Right.
path for you. So different people have different paths. Different people have different paths. So my invitation to you is you are on a very good path. It suits you. There's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful, but don't be dogmatic. There are other people who are different.
Right. No, I'm not dogmatic. I'm just saying that for somebody for me, okay, for me it is not important. वो सब नहीं है. बस ये चल रहा है. Right.
It is good.
Now, yeah. Now my next question कि consciousness पे है ये कि जब बोलते हैं consciousness, you said this is the Brahman is consciousness is Brahma, what exists, the reality is consciousness. Now we use the term consciousness for in many other contexts also. Like for example, we say feminine consciousness, masculine consciousness, collective consciousness. So what is understood by saying feminine consciousness, masculine consciousness? I have been grappling with this.
Okay. So I think
we'll
go off the track over here. This feminine energy, masculine energy, all are tantric concepts.
No. I'm not talking about feminine energy. I'm talking about feminine consciousness.
It's the same thing. The feminine aspect, the Devi aspect, and the so I will tell you very simply, because if you ask too many questions, we go into a different discussion. It's a subject by itself. So
okay.
Basically, the so-called masculine consciousness is that stillness. It is the just the intelligence. It is stillness. It is inactive, right? It cannot do anything on its own. In Tantra, it is depicted by the word Shiva, Shiva Tattva, right? But
Okay.
anything which has an energy, which to do with energy. So when the Srishti takes place, there's energy. The world is formed by energy. All actions are energy. So that is Devi consciousness. Maya is Yog Maya. Maya is Devi. So that Devi, anything to do with energy is the feminine consciousness. So
Devi Tattva.
Devi Tattva. It is Maya Tattva, Devi Tattva, whatever you want to call it. So that's the Tattva. And that is the creative force. That is the force which, that is why women give birth, they carry fetus, they give birth. So it's the creative force, is the active force, right? While the masculine energy is the pure, still consciousness. It's the observer.
Can we say passive force?
It's a passive force. You can call it a passive force. So in general, we'll leave it here. Otherwise, it becomes very complex. Tantra is a very complex subject, and it's a totally different subject.
Okay, but someday I want you to tell me what is feminine consciousness and masculine consciousness.
I've told you
because I've been grappling with this.
Nothing to grapple. Shiva Tattva and Khatam. Shiva and Shakti, Shiva and Durga, बस खत्म हो गया. Devi consciousness हो गया. आप दोनों समझ.
मुझे अगर वो to tell a woman,
don't confuse it with woman and man. I mean, a man will also have Devi consciousness and Shiva consciousness. A woman will also have. So it's not that.
Okay.
There are certain roles, like a woman can bear a child, a man cannot. So those things are there, of course. But this male and female energies are there in men and women.
Because through this, what I'm trying to come down to is what are the inherent attributes of the feminine consciousness.
I know. So that's a very, very different discussion. Then you have to go to chakras and all that stuff. Right. Okay. So Adhisthana and Mooladhara and sun energy, moon energy. So वो बड़ा complex हो जाता है. It's a subject by itself. But very brief, you asked me a question, very briefly I've told you. The still inactive consciousness, Shiva Tattva, is male energy. The energy Tattva is female energy. Okay. All right.
Okay. I will think
now we come to Ishawara.
Ishawara, okay.
So Brahman, as we saw it, is unmanifest. It is beyond time and space. It is unchanging. It has got no attributes. So it is known as Nirguna. Nirguna means koi gun nahi.
Yeah.
However, according to Vedanta, within space-time, there is a collective principle called Saguna Brahman. That is Brahman with attributes, and that is Ishwara. So how do we know Ishwara? We know that our knowledge is imperfect. So there is a perfection of knowledge. There's a perfection of knowledge somewhere in the universe, and that perfection of knowledge is Ishwara. Right? Now, unlike the the Abrahamic Christian or the Muslim belief, the Islamic belief that the world was created historically, at some point in time, the world was created, right? And कुछ दिन कयामत आएगा, the world will end. ठीक है? So, in the Eastern philosophies, since Brahman is timeless, so and the world is the appearance of Brahman, the world is also timeless. It was never created, and it will never end. All right. However, the world goes through cycles of Srishti and Pralay. So if the world is going through Srishti and Pralay, it needs somebody to govern that Srishti and Pralay, and Ishwara is the one who governs that Srishti and Pralay. It is also, when we do karma, we have to get the fruits of karma. So somebody has to give you the fruits of karma. So it is believed in Vedanta that Ishwara is the giver of fruits and karma. So I must tell you, there are other philosophies which say no, there is an unseen force, adrishta, which is the giver of fruits of karma. But so let me not complicate it, but in Vedanta, they say Ishwara is the giver of fruits of karma.
I guess they would say it is by default.
Which
You
one?
do the karma and it results into some.
Exactly. Some
yeah,
other philosophies
by
like,
default. It happens by default.
correct.
Yeah.
Some other philosophies say there's a adrishta factor. That means there's an unseen factor. So you do a karma and it creates a force, which unseen force.
Yes.
Which gives you
Okay.
That is one philosophy. That is another philosophy.
Okay.
But in Vedanta, they say Ishwara is the giver of fruits of karma.
Okay.
Right.
Fine. Okay.
And Ishwara, therefore, is the universe. It is within time and space. It throbs in all parts of everything that is.
Okay.
It contains everything in the universe. The whole universe is Ishwara's body. Okay. And Ishwara is a ruler of Maya. So this picture, Ishwara is the ruler of Maya. So
can we say Ishwara is the system?
Ishwara is the highest reality you can reach within time and space is Ishwara. So therefore it is the collective mind. It governs Srishti and Pralay. Please mute. And it is the giver of fruits and of karma.
black wala hai.
Excuse me, please. Can you unmute yourself? Hello. Please mute yourself. All right. So the last question is, what is the relationship between Brahman and Ishvara? Are they different? So, Shankara didn't see it as different. Shankara didn't see Brahman and the world as different. They say it's one whole. The world is appearance on Brahman. So he didn't see any sharp difference. So Brahman conditioned by the universal mind is Ishvara, just like Atman conditioned by the individual mind is Jiva. Jiva is individual psychological selves, right? So just like at a micro level, you take Atman and condition it with the mind, the individual mind, you get a Jiva. So Brahman ko you condition with a universal mind, you get Ishvara. And Sankara saw a continual intermingling between the world and the beyond. And he was never that is why his philosophy is called Advait, not two. It's the same, it's not two. Of course, the world is an appearance and Brahman is pure consciousness, but they are not two. They are one. All right. And so therefore the whole phenomenon, the world is an appearance of Brahman. And
could not two also mean not multiple?
No, yeah, not multiple. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Brahman in time and space is the triad of Ishvara, Jagat, and Jiva. So Brahman is not different. There's no sharp difference in Brahman and Ishvara. But what must be underscored is Ishvara is a product. And like everything in the world, Ishvara too will resolve into Brahman in Pralay. So it will govern as long as Srishti is there. When Pralay happens, Ishvara also goes. Gone. So therefore, the transcendence is beyond Ishvara. So another way of looking at it, Vedanta says that for people who are lower down in their awareness, let them surrender to Ishvara. They will rise up to a certain level. Once they rise to that level, even Ishvara has to be discarded and concentrate on Nirguna Brahman.
Would it be wrong to say, also say, not to say, but also understand Ishvara as the system? Like I said, I feel that the reward
Hmm.
comes by default,
Hmm.
and that default happens through a system.
Hmm.
So you say, or rather this philosophy says, that Ishwara gives the rewards of karma.
So the whole system, whole universal
I
system,
say that the system is Ishwara. Would it be wrong to understand it that way?
it would be technically wrong, because the whole system is the triad of Ishvara, Jagat, and Jiva. These three
Okay.
together form the universe.
The system.
In this universe of these three, Ishvara is the highest reality.
Okay.
But Ishvara is not the ultimate reality, because even Ishvara will dissolve in Pralay,
Okay.
and a new Ishvara will come when the Srishti takes place.
Okay.
So the ultimate reality is Brahman. So people on the Vedantic path, they will start with Ishvara, because Ishvara is a very, very good tool, as you said, to surrender to as you said, I think that's, some higher force. Ishvara is working through me, which is a very, very good thing, right? And even in people who meditate like myself, what is meditating? My mind cannot meditate. My mind is made of matter. It cannot meditate. So what is meditating? My conscious principle, my Ishwar Tattva,
Yeah.
Shiv Tattva is meditating, right? So it's a very useful tool, but we must realize that even Ishvara is not the ultimate.
Okay.
So once you get to a certain level, then you have to get to focusing on Nirguna Brahman.
My last question to you is, have you understood reality and Brahman?
I have understood. Have I realized it? No.
Or no, you have not realized? But you've understood. Like means theoretically you understood it?
Theoretically and even contemplatively, and glimpses in my meditation. But am I enlightened? No, sorry, I'm not. I'm not a Buddha yet.
My God, if you say you're not enlightened, I would say I'm still into the kindergarten.
हाँ वो आप kindergarten में है तो मैं upper KG में हूँ और क्या
ठीक है. Anyway, thank you very much, Atulji. It was very stimulating, very soul stirring, mind stirring, very self-searching also. And I don't know, it gives me a kind of a joy also. It makes me smile. These things, when I talk about them, when I hear them, makes me smile. Acha, ye bhi hai, acha hai, aisa bhi hai, acha, theek hai, ye bhi hai, theek hai, acha hai. And